You're listening to the Health Courage Collective podcast, episode 83, Sedentary Exercisers. This episode was originally published January 12th, 2022. Welcome to the Health Courage Collective podcast, the show for women who are too busy to slog through hours of generalized, inapplicable, and often contradictory health information, but too smart to ignore that a few minutes of focused attention now can prevent years of suffering in the future. I'm your host, Christina Hackett, a pharmacist who doesn't want you to live on prescriptions, a certified coach specifically trained to maximize your potential, and a compulsive learner obsessed with preventative, cutting-edge, holistic, and integrative medicine. I'm on a mission to increase your physical and mental resilience so you can fearlessly look forward to your next 40-plus limitless years. Your time is now. Let's go. Hello, my friend. Welcome to another episode. I'm so glad to be here with you again today. How is it February already? I hope you're doing awesome. How is your decision making coming along? Did you download your free 40 questions to help you make health decisions? I hope it's helpful to you. I think those questions will really help you get clear when you're making decisions. It's so awesome that there's a step-by-step process that we can decide to follow to make us better decision makers. The ability to make good choices helps us in our health and really every area of our life. Today, we're going to talk about sedentary exercisers. Do you think you might be one of them? I have been at times, but I'm doing my best to work on it myself. We all know that there's this magical well-being tool that makes us happier and smarter and stronger. It prevents all kinds of illnesses, extends our health span and lifespan through improving our blood sugar control and cardiovascular health. It boosts our metabolism and ability to live the life we want to live. I'm sure you're not surprised to learn that this well-being tool is called exercise. It's fabulous, and we could talk for hours about all the ways it improves your life. That list doesn't include being a good way to lose weight, which is a misconception, but everything else you've heard that is great about exercise is probably true. You don't need me to tell you that your mind and body will be healthier if you exercise regularly. You will live longer and be able to do more of what you actually want to do with those years if you exercise. I feel like the case is pretty much closed on exercise being fantastic. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization and other experts have warned of a leading cause of morbidity and mortality that plagues the world. This danger is the fourth leading cause of disease and disability, and in the top 10 causes of death worldwide. In our current pandemic-aware climate, you would think we'd be joining forces as a global community to combat this threat. 3.3 to 5 million people die every year from this health hazard. That's a big deal. Not to downplay the deaths of anyone for any reason, or to say that we shouldn't be working together as global partners to come up with COVID solutions, because we absolutely should. But COVID-19 caused about 2.6 million deaths worldwide in its first year spreading around the world. That's not okay. But this is something that causes 3.3 to 5 million deaths every single year, year after year. Can you guess what it is? You're so smart. Yes, it's being sedentary. Do you remember from back in the nitric oxide episode how the guy who won the Nobel Prize for discovering nitric oxide, Louis Ignarro, said that it is suicidal to be sedentary? That statement is frighteningly true. And before you check out and think this episode isn't for you because you exercise, know that being an exerciser doesn't mean that you're not also sedentary. What? Yeah, it's true. I know I used to think that I wasn't sedentary because I exercised regularly, but I was wrong. As truly awesome as we know it is, and you should absolutely keep doing it, exercising for an hour doesn't negate the deadliness of sitting for the rest of the day. Dr. Joan Vernikos is a NASA researcher who has done all kinds of interesting studies. Interestingly, most of her work demonstrates how sitting produces the same negative effects on your body as weightlessness does on astronauts' bodies. Except weightlessness would be way more fun than sitting and would make for a much better Instagram story photo. Her research has shown that sitting has the same negative effects on your body whether you regularly exercise or not, and exercising at the gym does not counteract the negative effects of sitting for a great part of the day. Sorry, I wish it did. She has definitively proven that exercising once a day does not substitute for all-day spontaneous moving. We need to do both. Our bodies were made to work against gravity and made to move often throughout the day, every day. If we don't give them those two opportunities, the same bad things start to happen, whether we're a super fit astronaut or an exercising office worker. Have you heard that sitting is the new smoking? What does that actually mean? Dr. Joan Vernikos says, quote, "Sitting is now considered an independent risk factor for many chronic diseases as well as for premature death. Even if you smoke like a chimney or are a heavy drinker or both, it's actually the constant sitting that will do the most damage." End quote. Wow, I would never even consider smoking like a chimney or becoming a heavy drinker, so why would I ever sit for hours at a time? Well, it's the easy and normal thing to do. This is one of the areas where not being normal might take a little more ingenuity in behavior design, but the payoff is massive. It would be like quitting smoking or quitting drinking, except without the withdrawals or support groups. Maybe we could start a Sitaholics Anonymous group and you could have a sponsor who would come push you out of your chair periodically. That could be fun, especially if you're the sponsor. Chairs, one of our most ubiquitous furniture pieces, used to be rare. We used to squat or kneel rather than sit. It wasn't until the 17th century that chairs became common in the Western world. Now we sit to work, sit to eat, sit in our cars, and finish the day sitting on the couch. It's easier than ever to sit all the time. This keeps making me think of the movie WALL-E and all the people in their floating chairs. A great deal of studies have shown that the more we sit, the greater our chances of dying of heart disease, stroke, cancer, or diabetes. Not only that, but we are more likely to get back and joint pain, and sitting saps our energy, making us more tired than ever. Inactivity directly causes 2.4% of U.S. healthcare expenditures, or about $24 billion a year, and indirectly causes much more than that. The physiologic changes to our bodies when we sit are similar to those of astronauts in zero gravity, which are both similar to those of elderly people. Sitting accelerates the aging process on your body, even if you're a regular exerciser. The main cause of these problems is gravity deprivation. When you sit or lie down, you are underusing the valuable body strengthener called gravity. I've never thought about how I underuse or undervalue gravity before. Just another thing I've been taking for granted all these years, I guess. On Earth, we lose roughly 1% of our bone density a year. It doesn't have to be that way, remember our old friend vitamin K2. But 1% per year loss is average. In space, astronauts lose as much as 1% in a week. Their muscles become weaker, their immune systems are suppressed, and their sleep is disturbed. When they return from space, they have less stamina, they shuffle when they walk, and they lose their sense of balance. All because they've missed out on the benefits of gravity on their bodies. These are the same things that happen to us when we sit for an hour or more. While it's clear that exercising improves your overall health, study after study shows that reducing the amount of time you spend consecutively sitting has more of an influence on your health than exercising. As little as 1 to 2 hours of consecutive sitting can reduce your ability to regulate your blood sugar and increase your risk for cancer, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease, even if you're someone who exercises regularly. In her book, Move Your DNA, Katie Bowman tells us that we have 15 to 70 trillion cells in our body, almost every one with a receptor tied to our movement, or lack thereof. This is one of the reasons that astronauts' health plummets once they leave gravity. They lose the force of gravity on all of those cells. Katie Bowman is an epigeneticist who says that most epigeneticists are missing one of the biggest variables in our gene expression. Remember that we have our set genes, but what turns certain genes on and off is called epigenetics. While we can't change which genes we inherited, we can have a huge influence on the expression of those genes. Our environment and choices make a bigger difference than what genes we inherit. Katie says, quote, "Of course, diet, stress, and environmental factors can all change the expression or physical outcome of your DNA. But it is my professional opinion as a biomechanist that movement is what most humans are missing more than any other factor, and the bulk of the scientific community has dropped the ball. With respect to disease, the human's internal mechanical environment has been the least discussed environment of all. A staggering oversight when almost every cell in your body has specialized equipment just to sense the mechanical environment. Every single thing our bodies do requires movement, initiated by our musculoskeletal system, to be performed with ease. Digestion, immunity, reproduction, all of these functions require us to move. You can eat the perfect diet, sleep 8 hours a night, and use only baking soda and vinegar to clean your house, but without the loads created by natural movement, all of these worthy efforts are thwarted at a cellular level, and your optimal wellness remains elusive." End quote. We don't want our optimal wellness levels to remain elusive. We can only be our healthiest and turn on the genes we want on and turn off the genes we want off if we move. Katie Bowman also says that the first step to radically improving your health is to let go of the notion that movement is exercise. To move your health forward, it is essential to mentally rearrange the relationship between movement and exercise in your mind. This is an important point. We really, truly are designed to move all day, every day. When we say to move, that doesn't necessitate putting on your Lululemon leggings and a high-impact sports bra. Think about movement as a big circle. Included in that circle is exercise, but also a ton of other things. Anything that requires you to move your body in space, especially against the force of gravity, is good for you. Movement transcends and includes exercise. Hey there, do you have a great idea for a topic I should cover on the podcast? I would love to hear from you. Click the link in the show notes and tell me what you think I should talk about next. In my Optimized Coach training program, we talk a lot about looking for OTMs, which stands for opportunities to move. Seek them out and embrace them. Where should I park? OTM. Husband asks you to buy a 40-pound bag of water softener salt while you're at Costco. Buy 4 instead because OTM. Forget what you went downstairs to get? Great. You'll have to come back down here again once you remember. OTM. So good for you. I encourage you to look for OTMs throughout your day. Can you walk while making phone calls or waiting on hold? Can you dance while cooking dinner? Or wash the dishes while standing on one leg? Contrive them if you have to, but they don't need to take up any more time during your day. So, what do you do if you have a desk job? There are certainly creative solutions like treadmill desks and exercise balls instead of chairs. Go for it if you want to, but you don't have to spend $1,800 on a desk to avoid the scary consequences of sitting. Remember that it's sitting for long stretches of time that's so bad for you, so the solution is pretty obvious. Stand up sometimes. Work against your new friend, gravity. The optimal time to not sit longer than is 20 minutes. If you can stand up every 20 minutes, you'll be much healthier. Some research says 20 to 30 minutes, so you could maybe get away with 30. My coach, Brian Johnson, talks a lot about how he sets a timer on his watch and moves every 16 minutes and 40 seconds, which is equal to 1,000 seconds. He does 10 sets of 11 burpees throughout the day and sometimes hangs from a pull-up bar to train his grip. I thought that sounded nice for him, but I didn't really see how it would work for me or connect the dots for myself until I really understood that it's just moving your body against gravity every 20 to 30 minutes that makes a huge difference. 110 burpees are not required. They're better, but they're not required. It seemed like it would be a huge distraction to have a timer going off every 20 minutes, and I know deep work and deep focus are important. Then I heard Brian explain that he thinks of his timer like a meditation bell, and if he's really into what he's working on, when the timer goes off, he just lifts his butt off the seat. That's it. That's when I started to think, okay, maybe I could work on this. I knew I didn't want to have to touch my phone every 20 minutes, so I bought this little clip-on timer at Walmart for 97 cents, and I tried to wear it whenever I'm sitting. 20 minutes goes by really fast, but I make sure to get my butt off the seat every time it goes off, no matter what. Sometimes I'll stand up for longer, do a twist, or go for a micro walk. But all that I require of myself is to get my seat off the seat. I do very different things at home when nobody can see me than I do when I'm at work. There are some kickboxing moves and 90s MC Hammer type moves and other embarrassing stuff that I only do at home. But it really does help me feel like my blood is flowing and I'm just more alive. I don't expect everyone to love this idea, but I would encourage you to think about giving it a try. It's a quick and easy way to decrease your risk of fatigue, pain, heart disease, stroke, cancer, and diabetes. I would really love to find a little clip-on timer that vibrates instead of beeping. I've looked and I have found no such thing. I did find a timer on Amazon that's silent, so that's what I use at work now, so my coworkers don't have to hear this beeping every 20 minutes, which they put up with for a while. But it just has a light that turns from green to red, and that's when I know I need to stand up, which works okay for while I'm at work, and when I'm at home I use my beepy timer. I do think for sure that the reason I've been able to stick to this is because the timer is independent from my phone. Mine doesn't sound like a meditation bell to me, but I think the annoyance is worth it to get me up and to tell my 15 to 70 trillion cellular movement receptors that my body is healthy and so it needs oxygen, energy, and to express the healthiest genes. If you aren't moving, you might be taken for dead by other people or by your cellular movement receptors. If you're not into wearing a timer around, what can you think of that would break up your extended bouts of sitting? When do you sit for the longest uninterrupted time? How could you break that up and stand up sometimes? How can you more deeply befriend gravity? In her book, The Joy of Movement, Kelly McGonigal tells us that, quote, in the United States, daily physical activity as captured by an accelerometer is correlated with a sense of purpose in life. Real-time tracking also shows that people are happier during moments when they are physically active than when they are sedentary. And on days when people are more active than their usual, they report greater satisfaction with their lives. Other experiments in the US and UK have forced moderately active adults to become sedentary for periods of time, only to watch their well-being wither. Regular movers who replace physical activity with a sedentary activity for 2 weeks become more anxious, more tired, and more hostile. When adults are randomly assigned to reduce their daily step count, 88% become more depressed. Within 1 week of becoming more sedentary, they report a 31% decline in life satisfaction. The average daily step count required to induce feelings of anxiety and depression and decrease satisfaction with life is 5,649. The typical American takes 4,774 steps per day. Across the globe, the average is 4,961. End quote. Interesting, right? I like the language she uses saying if you become more sedentary, you can watch your well-being wither. Don't let that happen to you. If you can get 5,650 steps a day, you will be above the threshold for increased risk of anxiety and depression. With stats like 88% of people becoming more depressed within 1 week of becoming more sedentary, we should be 100% committed to the thought that you couldn't pay me to sit for long stretches of time. It's just not worth it. All movement is good for us, but we were literally designed to walk, and walking is one of the very best forms of movement for our bodies. It's good for our mind and our mood and our muscles and our lymphatic system and our cardiovascular system, our skeletal system, and on and on. All walking is good, but Katie Bowman's research shows that while 1 3-mile walk a day is very good for us, 3 1-mile walks would be even better. The frequent moving throughout the day is better than getting all our movement in at the same time. So, as you're considering setting a timer to get up every 20 minutes, consider adding micro walks to your day. Even just around the house or the office, or even just around the room is good for you. Variety is also good, so if you want to micro walk this time your timer goes off, consider doing a push-up or hanging from a bar or dancing the next time it goes off. I love what Joan Vernikos, the NASA lady who incidentally wrote this book when she was 80 years old, said, The bottom line is by staying active, moving, and connected, you gain the reward of having energy all day, sleeping well at night, and feeling healthy, happy, and fulfilled. Just remember, your body is designed to move. She also puts it brilliantly when she says that the way we behave all day, every day these days is that our body is unloaded while our brains are overloaded. It's so true, right? And it's not a recipe for thriving. We can and should find a way to enjoy all the awesomeness of our modern world and technology while still knowing when it's wise to physically act like our ancestors a little bit more of the time. Remember that movement isn't just exercise. It includes, but also transcends exercise. Exercise is fantastic, but you cannot exercise your way out of sedentariness. It's possible to be a sedentary exerciser, and that's not a good thing. Sitting for long stretches of time has the same negative effects on your body as weightlessness does on astronauts' bodies. Instead of letting your body be unloaded while your brain is overloaded all day, sometimes flip that equation and let your body be loaded by working against our new friend gravity, and your brain unloaded, free to recover and be creative. Movement matters so much. Look for OTMs, those opportunities to move throughout your day. I realize that not everybody is physically able to get up and do some of the things we've been talking about today, but everyone can do something. Consider what you can realistically do within the constraints of your reality to move a little more and a little more frequently throughout the day. How can you make it fun? Can you make it a game or a challenge or a quest? I still like the idea of having someone come push me out of my chair periodically, but until I arrange for that, I'll be the one to push myself. My trillions of cells will thank me with more health and energy throughout the day. Thank you so much for listening in today. You are awesome. I hope you have a great rest of your day and your week. Next week, we're going to talk about how to get more out of your oopses. Until then, nourish your body with a little movement every 20 to 30 minutes and don't be normal. Thank you so much for tuning into the Health Courage Collective podcast. I am truly honored that you have paid me the enormous compliment of your time and attention. I would be so grateful if you would share this podcast with someone you know and subscribe so you never miss an episode. This podcast is for entertainment and information purposes only. Statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Christina Hackett and producers, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse events by use of information contained herein. If you think you have a medical problem, consult a licensed physician.